Steve has been now you can correct me. I'm going to say the co-director slash organizer slash organize slash motivator,
That's okay. I'll correct you.
okay, of Cresheim Village Neighbors for 38 years. He's been a member of NVN since its founding through his friendship and neighborness with Ann Jeffsikis and Peter, who founded NVN with a few other people. And he's going to share some of his motivations and wisdom with us now.
Ta-da. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming in as Steve Stroiman. For the for others who are not Steve Stroiman, you might want to change it to your actual names so that I know that you're here. I think that's Maurice down there with the headphones on. Maurice, you coming in as my with my name, and my sister Jerry, all the way from Milwaukee. So Jerry,
Yeah.
hi, welcome.
Hi.
Just
Well, I
stay,
was trying to pass off as you, Steve.
well, just you stop bleaching your mustache, Jerry.
Well,
It's a good name, Steve. You shouldn't own it, exclusively. I'm sorry.
Thank you, thank you. I'll accept all interruptions like that. So everybody, thank you for coming. I really appreciate you being here. Um, I am going to just bore you. Talk a bit about my role as head of Cresheim Village Neighbors. First, let me tell you what Cresheim Village Neighbors is. It's a very active neighborhood association in West Mount Airy. The so-called boundaries are Lane to Mount Pleasant and Germantown Avenue to Cressham Road. It's all the little streets in that area. It's Nippon and Mount Airy Avenue and Durham and the cross streets of Bryan, Bryan, and also Cressham. So we're made up of 12 blocks. And as Merle said earlier, we've been together for 38 years, and I've been the de facto head of it for 38 years. It says a lot to the fact that nobody else wants to even step up to anything. No, I'm kidding. So let me tell you what and how I do things. Um, I've sort of written out an outline here, so I'm going to be referring to it. There are actually two pillars that I have seen to my leadership. They sort of serve as a foundation. One is establishing personal relationships and developing trust with everybody who I meet. I think that's absolutely crucial. It's it's the cornerstone of everything that I do. Um, and as a leader, that's not good enough. It's nice to be liked by people. It's nice to be pals with people, but I have to know how to get things done. So I've learned how to do that over the years as well. So establishing personal relationships and knowing how to get things done. So what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, it's not I so much, but we in our neighborhood have created channels of communication. We really need to communicate with each other. And what do I do? What do I do on a personal level? On a personal level, I really try to meet face to face with people. I try to get to know who they are. I try to get to have them know who I am. It's not that we have to delve into each other's personalities or backgrounds, but we have to know who each other is and establish that kind of relationship. I also, and I'm going to do a bit of show and
Hey,
tell here.
Michael.
Um,
We're
I
good. We're
like
good.
read. I'm going to, you know what, Merle, mute. I think Maurice is on the phone.
Hello,
Yeah, he's on the
Michael?
phone, and he doesn't know that he didn't mute himself.
All right, I'll mute everybody. Let's see.
Okay. Did we lose anybody?
I hope he's ordering out something that we all can share.
Okay, you have to unmute yourself, Steve.
What I was saying was that I was hoping that he was ordering out a pizza that all of us can share. Um, Now, what else do I do on a personal level? I personally greet all new neighbors who come into the neighborhood with this. It's a gift card to High Point at Allen's Lane train station. And the smiles that come to their faces are just immeasurable. I spend about an hour with new neighbors. I get to find out what they do, and where they're from, tell them about Cresheim Village Neighbors. And so this past year, I greeted 15 new neighbors. That's average on an annual basis. So I do that. Also, if there's a family loss, I've taken it upon myself to bring over a plant to that family that's grieving. Um, from our neighborhood florist, from Roth Florists. And um, so I also communicate with people that way. Uh, I also, what I try to do is I meet with community figures and public figures in person. So, for instance, when we had a new principal at our neighborhood local elementary school, the Houston School, I went over and I met him, Leroy Hall, and in fact, Leroy is on the screen. If that's Leroy down there, is that Leroy? Um, if it isn't, then there's so many people I've signed in as Steve Stroiman. Uh, and and so I get to meet people face to face. Um, and and I establish a relationship with the person. Also with our police captain, with others in the neighborhood who are community leaders. And I go to community meetings. We have a number of community organizations in Mount Airy. We have West Mount Airy Neighbors, Mount Airy CDC, Mount Airy Business Improvement District. I try to go to not all of their meetings, but some of their meetings, so that I get to know who the shakers and movers are of the community. Now, that's what I do in terms of creating channels of communication. And by the way, if you do have a question, feel free to just raise your hand and I think Merle, you can unmute them, okay? Because certainly I don't want this to be totally a monologue. But on a communal level, in terms of creating channels of communication, we have monthly meetings. Um, before before COVID, we met in person at a different person's house every month. During COVID and post-COVID, because it's easier and more convenient for people, we meet via Zoom. So that's one way. We have monthly meetings. We have a monthly newsletter, which Merle, if can you share can you do screen sharing there or share it with me? Because I'd like to show what we do.
Sure. I can make you co-host.
That would
And
help.
then there we go.
As a retired teacher, I do a lot of show and tell.
Well, that's not the way to do it.
What are you doing, share screen?
Yeah.
Say,
I
nope.
hear you, Paul.
Steve,
I'm not sure how to do that. Let's see.
Well, on the bottom. Well, if you can't, then
Oh,
I'll just
host tools, I see. Uh, let's see.
Merle, if you go to participants and bring up
Okay,
the participants list,
I got it.
you can
Okay.
mouse over Steve and make him co-host. I just had to finish the sentence, sorry.
All right. I got to pick the right Steve. Make co-host. I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Will
you're
real
on.
Steve Stroiman please stand up?
Right.
Okay, you're
All right.
co-host.
Thank you,
There
Merle.
go. Sure.
Okay. let me move this over a bit if I can. Mm. Okay. This is our newsletter.
Oh, look at that. Wow.
Okay. And now this goes out, a hard copy goes out to every neighbor. We have 300 households. And also, a copy is posted on our listserv, and which I will tell you about in a few minutes. The neighbors talk. We have a review of the previous month's meeting, CVN February meeting. Um, we receive a grant from the city every year, and these are the recipients. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. And also on the other side is a flyer for the upcoming meeting. So our March meeting was about our snow fund, which I will explain in a little bit. Are we going to continue it or not? So our that's the another channel of communication, our the newsletter that we have. Another, so we have our monthly meetings, our monthly newsletter, and our listserv. For people who are, I think everybody's familiar with what a listserv is, but if you're not, it's a community chat room online where those who sign up are on it. We have almost 500 neighbors on that community, on that listserv. That is a major means of communication these days. Uh, on one end are curb alerts, meaning that these are free giveaways to neighbors. And on the other end, we have very serious conversations, of which I'll get into. So the listserv is a major means of communication for us. We also have an extensive address list which goes out to neighbors with everybody's phone numbers and email addresses. And I think you might want to mute Merle. If I'm the co-host, but if I am, I'm going to, yes, I'm co-host now. So I can do a bunch of things.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Because some people don't realize that they are carrying on a separate conversation in the
Right.
back. Okay, so we have the extensive address list, which has, as I said, people's phone numbers, email addresses, and make, model, and color of their cars, just in case something happens to them, and people need to know. And also, in terms of establishing channels of communication, we have a lot of neighborhood functions, especially social events. So, again, the foundation is establishing personal relationships with everybody and knowing how to get things done. Oh, so what do I mean by knowing how to get things done? So we have, uh, when we have meetings, we try to talk about, and this is what I try to do, is I try to find out areas of mutual self-interest. I borrowed this from Benjamin Franklin because he said what works best, of course, is when it's mutually beneficial to all parties. So that's what I do, is I try to find areas of mutual self-interest, common interests, and starting with uh, safety. Abraham Maslow would be proud of me saying this because this is the basis for his for his concerns. But safety, personal, home, community. So we talk about that, and let me do a little show and tell here. Uh, we have we have our own bank account. And what I do with it is I'll buy items from our neighborhood, well, the community hardware store, Killian's, which I think a lot of people know about. That is the mainstay of the Northwest. And so I will buy pocket flashlights like so, which are terrific because they're metal and they're LED, and these are given away to neighbors who want them. Personal pocket alarms that fit actually into people's pockets. Um, Lamp timers so that when somebody's away, you don't have a dark house. We also had over the years different things that I would buy from Killian's and in bulk and give to neighbors who wanted them for free. All these items are for free. Recently, these safety emergency whistles I purchased, again, for neighbors' use. And hold on one second, being co-host here, I re-admitted somebody. Okay, so we have, in terms of areas of mutual interest, safety,
How did you do that?
and let me see. Merle, I think we've got some people who are speaking in the background there.
Elaine, you need to mute yourself, please.
Yeah, I'll mute her. Okay, I just did that. Okay, so safety is one. What else can we talk about? Ugh, we have lots to talk about. But basic stuff, safety. Other thing is public services when trash isn't picked up, okay? Or street lighting when the street lights go out. Or with our neighborhood especially being comprised of very, very narrow streets, and the city has rarely come through our streets because they're considered not primary, not secondary, but tertiary. And I found out what that meant when I went down to the actual offices of those who are in charge of plowing for the city. And they told me face to face, they said, yes, your streets are plowed if we remember. And secondly, within 48 hours after a snowstorm. And I'll get into the whole thing of the snow removal in a bit. But public services is another thing to find areas of mutual self-interest. Neighborhood civic functions. Um, we have a snow fund. We have a dedicated mosquito dunk fund. Mosquito dunks are those little round things that kill mosquito larvae, and so we have that. We have a pin oak fund. Now, what I mean by that is if you're at the Allens Lane train station and you see this beautiful, tall, just magnificent tree in front of the train station, that is a pin oak. And we have paid for its maintenance over the years. So we have a dedicated fund. When we needed funds to have more done to the pin oak tree, uh, the community came through within days. We would raise thousands of dollars for the pin oak fund, which is absolutely amazing. So and so that's one thing. Community engagement. We have a lot of things that allow neighbors to get involved. The train station grounds are maintained by a small group of Cresheim Village Neighbors. Cleanup of graffiti on Germantown Avenue. We did that years ago before there was now an organization that does that, but we used to clean up graffiti along Germantown Avenue. We're involved in the Houston's elementary school. We do community policing. And what I mean by that is, again, before the advent of an organization to do this, um, we used to have drug dealers who used to hang out on Germantown Avenue, and and nobody really wanted to confront them. And it was a cat and mouse game with the police, who would scream. They would go and hide when the police would come, and then come back after the police would leave. So a number of us got together, and we brought our lawn chairs out diagonally across the street from where they would congregate. And we would sit and we would just sit and schmooze once a month. Okay? I'm sorry, not once a month, once a week. Once a week, we would sit out and schmooze. And one time, uh, one of the leaders of the drug group came over, and he came up to me and he said, "So what are you here for?" And I said, "What are we here for? We are the MABP. You don't know what that is?" He said, "What's that?" I said, "The Mount Airy Beautification Project. We sit out here every week and we discuss how to beautify the pier front of every store along the avenue." And he just burst out laughing. And I laughed along with them because we both knew that this was a total joke. But he knew why we were there. And guess what? They left. It took 5 months. We were there from April every week, once a week, through October. It was a matter of persistence, but we were there, and our MABP it really worked. They never came back. The police have congratulated us on something that they couldn't do, and they have not been back ever since. And this was years ago. Um, There are other things, other community policing things that we have done, infrastructure projects that we've been involved in. Um, we don't just watch them happen, we make them happen. I'll give you an example. The Allens Lane Bridge, which some of you are familiar with, um, it was a 100-year-old, I guess, lawsuit waiting to happen. Somebody wrote an article in the newspaper, and that prompted me to get in touch with PennDOT. For those of you not from the area, that's the outfit that takes care of these kinds of structures. And I invited PennDOT out to talk with us about this failing bridge, and what they were going to do about it. And they said, "Well, we don't know." And so a bunch of us met and said, "We could help you." And uh, and so what resulted was that there's a total renovation of that bridge, and one of the members of our neighborhood especially got involved. He's an architect. He designed for them the guardrails across the bridge at no cost to them. Magnificent guardrails. And so that's one example. And same thing with the train station, the building itself. Um, we have a pedestrian bridge that goes over the train tracks. It was, before its renovation, it was a lawsuit waiting to happen. And I got in touch with one of our public officials. I asked that person to invite the highest ranking person from SEPTA to come out. I gave that person a tour, and a tour across the pedestrian bridge in which you could almost put your foot through the floor. Okay. And I said, "You might want to do something about this before somebody or the community sues you." And so they did. And um, that that basically initiated I think it was a $7 or $8 million renovation of the entire train station. That was 12 years ago. And so we have our fingers in a lot of stuff like that. Social venues. Oh, I forgot. Neighbor to neighbor issues. I'm most proud of us when we've had to intervene with neighbor to neighbor issues. We live within very close proximity to one another, and there's bound to be problems. And there have been problems, ranging from nothing stuff to very serious issues. We had in the neighborhood a number of years ago, we had a, a group of young teens who would do petty vandalism, um, go up to people's porches and destroy things, harass neighbors, do all sorts of stuff that was not very welcome. And so a small group of us met, and we basically, and now this took a while, but we came up with the carrot and the stick. The carrot was presenting each of these kids with free activities in the neighborhood that they could get involved in. Um, and the stick was inviting the community relations officer to each of their homes. And Officer Olga Walsh, okay, was somebody who you wanted to be on the good side of because she could she could break somebody down with just a stare. And so she took each of these kids in this little group to the precinct jail, and she showed them the jail, and she said, "I hear a peep out of any of the neighbors about any of you boys, you will wind up here." That did the trick. They disbanded. Okay, but that was the effort of the neighborhood. Also, and we have lots of incidents like this, but I'll just mention one more. One of our neighbors, he was a lovely, lovely person, but if you looked at him, he looked like a street person. He just didn't take care of himself. He was a brilliant person. He used to come to our meetings because we all knew him and loved him. But Billy was uh, he was a good son, and he lived with his dysfunctional parents until they died. And he lived in his house until he was of such an age where he couldn't take care of himself anymore. So a small group of us, and it took a year, but we got him into the best geriatric hospital. Um, and then we got him into a senior residence in the General Mount Airy area. And I had the pleasure of calling his brother, who jumped ship and left the dysfunctional family years before. And I told the brother what we had been doing. And the brother came in, knelt down at our feet, and basically took over for us. He sold Billy's house, and with the funds, he was able to afford for Billy to live comfortably in the senior residence. So we've done things like this. We've done many things like this, and I'm especially proud of us for that. Um, Let me mention also, we have, I've, I've realized over the years that it's not just business that we have to take care of. It's social stuff that people really aren't interested in. For those of us in Northwest Village Network, we know that when we have big events, that people just want to talk with each other. They don't want to listen to any business that goes on. And so I've realized that too. That so we have social events that go on throughout the year. We have our annual big multi-block party, in which we cordon off an intersection, set up tables and chairs, have professional sound equipment out, and this is a potluck dinner. 150 of our neighbors congregate, and we have nonstop live music for 4 hours. We have an amazing array of magnificent, when I say magnificent, I am not exaggerating. These are professional musicians, some of whom had to take real jobs in order to support themselves, but they are wonderful, fantastic musicians. We also have our annual flea market. Um, we had for a while our Young Neighbors group because I'll tell you a little story there. For our 30th anniversary, um, we had a reporter from the Chestnut Hill Local come and do an article about us, but that's what she was supposed to do. She didn't show up. For whatever reason, I don't know. She just didn't show. So I just looked around the room and I said, "Look around, everybody." This was a packed living room. This was before COVID. And I said, "Look at us. We're a bunch of gray hairs. Where are the younger people in our neighborhood, many of whom move into our neighborhood?" And there was one young guy who I was very friendly with. And I said, "Sean, tell us, why aren't others your age at this meeting? And he said, Steve, I love you guys, but I'd rather spend the evening with people who are not my grandparents' age. And so, and so I basically met up with all the young people in our neighborhood, and I said, what interests you? What would make you want to get together with each other? And so there started a young neighbors group. And I will initiate things, but it's not up to me to carry them through. Okay. And it's not up to me to initiate everything either. I don't. Um, but I'll give you another example. I did initiate a young family fun day at our neighborhood local school, the Houston school. There's a wonderful um, playground in the back. And so the first year, um, some of our young neighbors got together. We planned it, and it was great. About 75 people came out. And I said, okay, somebody take over. I'm not a young parent. And so a young parent took over, and it went on for about 3 years. And nobody else in that group was interested anymore. So what I've learned as the head of the neighborhood is I don't have to lead everything, and I don't. I don't have to initiate everything, and I don't. And everything doesn't have to continue, and it doesn't. Okay, things come and things go. Um, so let me tell you a little bit about my leadership style. Um, I am, I am the coordinator. I'm not the president. I'm not the chancellor. I am the coordinator. And what that means is that I deliberately have what I call collaborative shared leadership. Everything for me is in the we. What are we going to do? We have to discuss and we have to decide together. I don't make unilateral decisions. I don't do that. It gets me off the hook personally, but also um, it makes us responsible for what we want and what we want to do. And I'll give you an example, two examples, in fact. Hold on a second. One of which is our snow fund. I mentioned that briefly before. That we have extremely narrow streets. The city hardly ever came through. And people would valiantly, at times, shovel out their entire street. But that wasn't on an ongoing basis at all. And it was hit or miss. And so I nagged our neighbors. Those of you who know me know that I'm a very pleasant, nice nag. And uh, I nagged our neighbors. I said, what are we doing? We're putting up with this crap for years, in which we used to have some real snow years ago. We're putting up with 12, 18 inches of snow. And what are we doing about it? We're trying to make our way down the streets so that we can go to work. We need to pool our funds and hire a contractor. This was December of 1995. People finally said, okay, Steve, we've heard you long enough. We'll do it. Okay, we'll pool our resources. So we did. And I got somebody to plow our street. And when was it? It was the next month. Because if somebody we'll wait for that siren to pass. Hopefully it's not for anybody on this Zoom call. If it is, then just mute yourself. So what happened? This was December of 1995. Everybody agreed. Guess what? January of 1996, we had this blizzard of the century. We had 30 inches. And guess what? The guy who we hired came out in his Jeep with his plow. He plowed our streets. We had nowhere to go because the city was shut down for 3 days. The streets were not plowed around us for 3 days. So people went up and down our streets, had a fun time. And I asked the guy if he would continue plowing for us? And he said, yes, I'm doubling my price because I burned out my clutch when I plowed your streets. And I said, thank you, but goodbye. And then I asked the neighbors, I said, please, let's try to find somebody who has a plow. Some of us had been taking our cars to a very well-known mechanic. It was Mount Airy, it goes by different names, but Fred's Foreign Cars, Mount Airy Motors. I know the owner. He had a Chevy Suburban in his parking lot with a plow. And I went up to him and said, David, what do you do with this plow? He said, well, it's obvious, Steve. I plow out my lot so that people can bring in their cars. I said, how would you like to plow for us? And so I took him around. He did it for 13 years. He was incredible. With his Chevy Suburban, he could get in between parked cars that had space between them. And he did it for a very reasonable cost. 13 years, we were spoiled. And we kept on adding streets over the years. We were initially 4 streets, then we became 8 and then 10. And he did all 10. We later on added 2 more, so we are currently 12. But he did 10 blocks for us until his plow broke. And he called me one day and he said, Steve, I would like your group to pay $2,000 for a new plow. And he said, and I will provide plowing for you for $2,000. I said, fair. Sounds good to me. But last time I brought in my car, I saw that your truck was broken. It was broke. It looked pretty sad. He said, oh yeah, I forgot. And so again, I said to the neighbors, we need somebody. And finally, somebody came through. And during the year, he runs a landscape management company. It was during a 10-inch snowstorm when this new fella came through. He came up to my house. I got into his Jeep. I took him around to the streets and I said, can you plow our streets, the 10 streets at the time? He said, yeah. I said, can you do it for this price? He said, yeah. I said, can you start now? He said, yep. And so he's been with us for 16 years. Our snow fund has been going for 30 years. Now, the thing is that for those of us who live in the Philly area, we know that we haven't had much snow in the last 8 years, so we haven't had to. Okay, somebody wanting to come into the meeting. So as co-host, let me admit her. You also know that we've had 2 big snowstorms in the past, one in January, one in February. That depleted whatever funds we had left in the snow fund. And so I just said to everybody, we have to replenish it. And replenishing it means that people are asked to contribute $50 per household. And if they can't afford it, whatever they can afford, and it goes into a dedicated fund, the snow fund. And it was quite sluggish at first because, again, we haven't collected for 8 years. And 2, the cities has started to come around. It's very haphazard and it's done very poorly. But that is complicated matters. And that was after the first snowstorm when I asked the neighbors to start to replenish the snow fund. Then we had the threat of the second snowstorm, and I said, we don't have enough, so please contribute. Now we have a block representative for each side of each block as a drop-off for people who want to pay by check or by cash. We've come into the modern age where people pay by Zelle or by PayPal or by Venmo. So 90% of our funds come through electronically. And it has taken a huge amount of time and effort. I'm very, very fortunate. My cohort is a computer tech expert, and she has really helped balance and just kept everything straight. So we now have 76% of all the neighbors have contributed, which is really terrific. And we have enough in the snow fund to last for several snowfalls, hopefully for a long time. So it's always we, okay? I'm not deciding on any of it, nor do I want to. We had something else, and then I'm going to open it up for everybody. We had something else. We always have things going on in the neighborhood. Um, as recently as three days ago, I won't tell you about that, but I will tell you about um, our listserv. We are a neighborhood of very active, involved people. We are also a neighborhood of very opinionated people. People want to say whatever is on their minds, whatever time of day. Okay, and that's what the list serves. It serves as that. Um, there happened to be uh, uh, what happened was that people were posting political emails, and there were some neighbors who were not pleased with that. They just wanted um, just curb alerts and neighborhood things. And so first of all, we had dozens of emails about that on our listserv. And then we had a major meeting about that. And we basically, to distill everything, because this took a while, we voted as a neighborhood. We voted. What do we want? And so we had four choices, from one extreme, just it being a listserv for good and welfare kinds of stuff, to anything political, meaning now we define political as partisan political, not just nonpartisan political, meaning nonpartisan can be what's going on with the Chestnut Hill Wests, and what's going on with SEPTA, and what's going on with the postal system. That's nonpartisan political, because we have dealt with that, and we have had our U.S. congressmen come and help us with that. But no, people wanted to know, what do we do about partisan political stuff? So we voted, and there was an overwhelming decision to have anything and everything on the listserv, provided, and this was the provision, that in the subject box, that somebody who's posting something of a political nature, write in the subject box political, so that if people on the listserv don't want to open it, they could merely delete it. And that has worked. And it has worked quite well over almost 3 years now. We do have to we have to revisit it every now and then, because things do get heated, um, and and it is a self-monitored listserv. Somebody emailed me recently with something that was heated, and said, "Steve, can you please not allow this to happen on your listserv?" And I said, I don't monitor the content nor the tone. I will alert a person privately if that person demeans another person on the listserv. That is clearly not allowed. That's the boundary. So so that's that with our listserv. Um, I also love connecting people. I love connecting people with. We had in one of our meetings um, neighbors who have unique careers, and we had another meeting with people with unique hobbies, those who are professionally involved in the arts, and we had a meeting with published authors, and I would like to have a meeting with the physicians in our neighborhood, the photographers in our neighborhood, community leaders, So there's lots that I love to highlight and to connect people and to form partnerships. I think I saw Kelly Caldwell. Kelly is Cindy Bass is our council person. There you are, Kelly. Kelly is a tremendously active, good-hearted, and good soul. And we have met a couple times, and we shared that how we both work is that we form personal relationships. And we both had this, maybe I had this aha moment. I said, Kelly, that's how you operate too. That's how I operate. And Kelly gets things done. So we share that in common as our foundations. We develop personal relationships, and we know how to get things done. And Kelly has a longer list than I have, so so that's wonderful. And let me mention that also Leroy Hall. I don't know, Leroy, if you're on the Zoom call. Leroy and Leroy is the principal. Dr. Leroy Hall is the principal of our neighborhood elementary school. He is a person who follows the same principles, spelled differently, of course. He establishes the personal relationships with his faculty, with the students, with all the students in the school. And that's why he's successful, because he also knows how to get things done. And so we share that. Um, and so that's it as coordinator. That's what I do. I try to bring people together. I listen. I really try to listen. Um, I rarely offer my own opinion. Why do that if we have a neighborhood of opinion people? So and also I do not lead everything. I will initiate some things, but again, I'm I guess the oil that keeps the machinery going. That's what I do. Okay. And I know my limits, and I know when to step back. I wouldn't do this otherwise. I do have a life, and I'm very clear about my priorities, that my family and I first, and my my friends and my community in that order. Okay, sorry, but that's how it works. That's how it works for me. And that's it. So I was listening to a program about about people in power, and one way that a democracy works is by putting restraints on people in power. And I thought, okay, I am a leader, but I don't have power. Not in the traditional sense of reward and punishment, more in the realm of influence. Yes, I have my doctorate is in educational psychology, and so I know about these things, and I won't go into them. But the best type of power is influence. When you're influenced by somebody, not hanging something over you, but by by merely being by your side, listening to you, that's the best influence that I have exerted. So let's open it up. I have blabbed on for almost an hour here. I can't believe it. So Merle, you want to open it up?
Yeah, thank you very, very much, Steve. It was really illuminating and really made me very thoughtful about a lot of the things that you've done. Does anybody have any comments or questions? You please unmute your Maurice. Hi, you unmute yourself and
Hi. Um, I'm actually I'm in the neighborhood that's on the other side of Mount Pleasant. And I just want to commend you all for having the opportunity to have Steve Stroiman in your neighborhood. He is actually an inspiration to the rest of us. Um, we from time to time have connected on different subjects and issues when it's more community wide. Um, and it's just real appreciation. I came tonight, Steve, just because I wanted to make sure that everyone here understand. You have a real treasure here. think one of the things that Steve said, that's really the point. It's having somebody there who says, let's do it. Having somebody there who sort of holds it all together by just being out front. And you are fortunate to have such a person. And I mean, I'm at the point now where I've got people doing that with me who Steve had as students. So he's been at it for quite some time. And thank you, Steve. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the model. And
Well, I should say also, Maurice is a role model for all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Maurice has been active not only in the community but in the city
Yes,
uh,
he has.
since what, the early 70s, Maurice, when the rest of us were in diapers.
well, well, I was the city's
Uh,
first recycling coordinator, Wilson Good. That's when I came to town.
Yeah.
You know,
Actually, I'm older than Maurice, but
not,
we won't go into that. Maurice is Maurice. You you're speaking about yourself as well. I have to say, he's a mensch. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with the term, he's a good-hearted, decent human being. Okay, and uh, who really follows through with what he says. So. We're all a team. I could say that about many of the people on this Zoom call. Jane is my CEO, so to speak, CIO. She's our Chief Information Officer. Nobody disseminates information as thoroughly as in
Yep.
much detail as Jane does. I don't know how you do it and where you get it from or how you have the time. It's just,
yeah, thanks, Jane.
You're
And
welcome.
she crosses all the borders on that, by the way.
All right. Yeah,
yeah.
I keep telling people I'm the town crier for the
There it is.
neighborhood.
Yes,
And
you are.
But you give me what to town cry about is all I got to say. Just without your leadership, I mean, I really second or third or fourth Maurice's comments. It's just been for me so fortunate to, and all these things that come out on the listserv, which in my household I refer to as the Steve Stroiman-ogram. I don't call it the CBN emails. So it's basically it's incredible. I feel so fortunate that I live in a community that has got this history that you were such a huge part of creating, and a sense of community. And once in a while, we get a little snarls up with each other, but most of the time, no. I mean, there's just a tremendous sense of like. I'll just tell my favorite story. I didn't join this. I have my own list north of Allen Lane around the Houston school that I created in my own side of things. And when COVID started, I asked Steve if I could join his list too, so I could kind of put the two sides together. And shortly after COVID started, somebody in the neighborhood, in Steve's neighborhood, her daughter at the time was in 10th grade, and she felt like making um, cinnamon rolls. So she put it out there. Does anyone have a cup of brown sugar? And I said, you could hear 1,000 cupboard doors opening at one time. So I'm like, ooh, my husband loves cinnamon rolls. So I go to my cupboard and I have this box that's like from, prehistoric. It's like concrete. And I'm thinking, I'll just take a hammer to it. Whatever. So I rush back and I say, yes, I have brown sugar. And she wrote back and she said, oh, that's okay. We're fine. We're set, whatever. 8 o'clock that night, my doorbell rang. Okay. And out on the steps was a paper plate with a napkin over top of it and a cinnamon roll.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So, I mean, just that to me is emblematic of this entire neighborhood of just that whole experience. So yeah, and really that's your all the credit to you and all the other people who
well,
you pulled together.
you know what? We have good people. Okay. It's not that we are the only neighborhood that has good people. Every neighborhood has good people. You just need somebody to get things going.
Mm.
Steve, I have a question. Do
Yeah.
you have, are you grooming anyone to take your place when you retire?
Yeah, good question. Not not directly, not personally. I would like to. Um, every time I see somebody who I think has the values and the leadership capacity that I think would carry us forward, either the person leaves or I mean leaves the neighborhood, not because of me, hopefully, but leaves the neighborhood or doesn't want to. It's not that that we need one person to do the many things that are under, you could say, under my hat. No, it could be, and it could and should be run by many people. Um, but the long answer is no, unfortunately. I would like to because I hope to enter a new venture in less than a year. I have a novel that's going to be published in the next 8 months, 10 months, and I really do want to promote that. And I hope and actually think that there'll be more than my family to read it. So so that will take up a bunch of my time.
Well,
Well,
now we know the
they
real
have
reason
big
why you might
shoes
not
to
get
fill.
through.
Thank you, Nor. I wear size 8, so it doesn't take that much. Okay. But we have good people, and all you have to do is team up with one other person, or then it becomes two or three or four. We have an issue in our neighborhood because we have such very, very narrow streets. And I'll tell you this little story because it was a major thing. Uh, a few months ago, somebody put on our listserv, it was a wake-up call to all of us. We all knew what was going on, but we never paid attention to it. Person said, I called the fire department. I needed them. They couldn't come through my street because the cars are parked at the very corner and the truck couldn't make it around. And so they had to get off and come by foot. Now, it wasn't a fire, fortunately, and they did make it to the person's house in time. But that was a wake-up call. And so, because I've been doing this for a while and because I do have these kinds of connections, I arranged a meeting with our district traffic engineer, and we did a walkthrough of our problematic streets. There were two dozen neighbors who went around with him. He took notes as we told him what were the problems, and after that, a small group of us met. After that, a smaller group met. After that, an even smaller group met. So that's how it often goes. There's a lot of enthusiasm in the beginning, and then it pretty much wanes fairly quickly. And yet, this is a very important thing to deal with. And so there are two of us who are still meeting with the traffic engineer. We will present it to the neighborhood at our April meeting for the neighbors to talk about it. Because again, we are not going to make decisions. I'm not going to make decisions for us because we have to balance safety and parking concerns. Because those of you who know the neighborhood know that not only is parking at a premium, but in addition, we have two new apartment buildings right in our immediate neighborhood. And where are they going to park? On our streets. And so we have to balance that. Um, but all I can say is, uh, yes, we are a neighborhood where I could tap people all the time. I'm not going to do these things by myself. I would wear myself out and I would burn out and forget it. But we have lots of people who are willing to step up. It looks like Lou, either
Lou,
you're
do you have a
cleaning your screen
question?
or you have a question.
Yes, yes. Hello. So, Steve, I've heard you talk about your community work for a long time. I'm not in your community. And I've joked with you that
Lou's a good friend, by the way.
this is you as a rabbi, this is your congregation. But this is really magnificent, like hearing the breadth and the width of everything that that goes on there. So I just say really congratulations. It's a wonderful service that you have been providing. And everyone in the community is very fortunate for all the efforts that you've put out. So
No,
congratulations.
thank you, Lou. If I wanted a synagogue, I would have had one, but I deliberately did not want a pulpit. Yes, I'm a rabbi. Yes. Okay, I'll tell you this. Um, for those of you who don't know, I taught at a Jewish day school, 6th through 12th grade, for 34 years. Danny, my son, and Danny, just raise your hand. Okay, he was my favorite student. And why I'm bringing up this story is because on the first day of class, I would write my name on the board, Steve Stroiman, and I would say to the kids, I'm going to call you by your first names. I want you to call me by my first name. And if your parents want to be impressed, I'm Rabbi Dr. Steve Stroiman. And why I say that is because um, if you're a synagogue rabbi, you have to assume a certain role. I don't fit that model. Okay, I'm Steve. I am Steve. I always was Steve. And if people say to me, "But you're a rabbi," I say, "Yeah, so okay, yes, I am. I'm proud to say I'm a rabbi." Um, and yes, with the doctorate and all that sort of stuff. But I am who I am. I'm Steve. Okay, I could do
I
that.
never knew you were a doctor's. I never knew you were a PhD.
Well, Nora, thanks for coming to the meeting. You got something out of
I learned something.
it.
After all those years I lived next door to you, I never knew you were a PhD.
Well, Nora, now you could, I'll, now you could send me the check that I've been wanting.
He doesn't do
Nora,
house calls.
Nora, by the way, Nora and her family were the most wonderful family. Uh, Unbelievable. When we first looked at the house, and I was told that there was a family with 8 kids, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to be living next door to 8 screaming children. And and I remember somebody outside that house. Oh, we live in a twin, and there was a woman standing outside of the twin, and I went up to her and I said, um, "Excuse me, but we're going to be moving in, and could you tell me who the mother is of the 8 children who lives here?" And she said, "I'm the mother." She was incredible. Okay. Um, she was so sweet and also so relaxed. And the 8 children were the most wonderful human beings. They were all adults. And Nora, your family is one that serves as a model to us. These are 8 children who love each other, who take care of each other. And we never heard a peep through the walls of anything because I don't know if you ever yelled at each other. You probably heard us, but we never heard
No,
you.
no.
They also weren't children anymore.
They were, yeah.
No, I said the you were adults, and we still get together with Nora. Nora
And I
lives in Erdenheim.
and I
Okay.
miss you so much. You can't believe how much I miss you.
Well, thank you, Nora. Bobby, you don't have to raise your hand.
Oh, well, I'm very excited I can do it, Steve. I'm not, I mean, I changed my name and I'm raising my hand. This is
Right.
this is the ultimate here. Anyway,
Yeah, do that.
I just wanted to say, I was thinking of, I mean, I too, I mean, I lived in the neighborhood a long time and I experienced a lot of what you described, not as long as many, but a fair amount. And I was realizing that you're a combination of the C's. And for me, it's your character, it's your compassion, and it's your consistency. I mean, I know lots of folks with pieces of that puzzle, but you have that combination of all of it, Steve, and it's weighted with it just an amazing kind of I don't really have the adjectives, they don't match the man, but I am grateful. And it is a beloved community. It is a beloved community. And you because you do tend, at least my experience has been, is to bring out the best in others by, I don't know, by recognizing it, by doing what you do. But you create a space where people can come and give the best of who and what they are. And it happens time and time again. And the ultimate for me is my family now lives in that neighborhood. And when I think of the legacy of that neighborhood, it's not the cute house, it's not all, but it is you and it is the neighbors. It's not, that is the gift that that I think that all of the people in the neighborhood, you particularly, Steve, continue to give. And I cannot even begin to thank you for that. And and knowing you, knowing your family, knowing the others, and I just, I think it's called role model, and I think it's called inspiration. And I think we've all got it. We all have agency. We all have the potential, but you have really lived up to yours in an incredible way. Thanks, Steve.
Well, thank you, Bobby. It's nice to hear this before my own funeral.
Okay, Jim, you had your hand up for a while, I know.
Yeah.
You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, Jim, you have to unmute yourself. We can't do it for you.
I just want to say that while I know a lot of what you've accomplished was due to your personality, I think you have a lot to say about community organizing. And I think after your novel, you should write a book about community organizing because
Well,
so many wonderful things that people just take it for granted. And I think, you have a lot to say that I think a lot of communities can benefit from.
thank you, Jim. It'll be for insomniacs.
I want to put in a short plug for an organization that most of us are already members of, Northwest Village Network, that Steve mentioned. And I also want to put in a plug for our next program, which is one of our newest members, is a retired palliative medicine specialist and geriatrician. And she will be talking about empowering your voice in your healthcare journey. And it's free and open to the public at the Free Library of Springfield Township, which is off of Paper Mill Road. And it's right across the street from the high school, Springfield High School, so it's not far. That might be it probably will be the first of a two-session series on wellness that we're starting. And Steve, I was just wondering, maybe this is a sneaky way of getting you to plug NVN. What is it that NVN offers to you that you are a member not only of your community association, but also NVN?
Well, I plug NBN all the time because, as Barbara knows, Barbara is the president. Barbara is just one incredible leader, and you also serve by example, Barbara. Your enthusiasm, your just your vitality, and your organizational skills are just wonderful. So I am very, very appreciative of that. And what draws Lucy and me to NVN is the wonderful people. It's made up of thoughtful, caring, bright, involved people. And that's the main thing. Yes, there are lots of programs, and yes, there are lots of events, um, but it's the people that really make the difference. Jim and Ron being to my left, you two are an example of that. Just warm and embracing, and 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 very interesting. I mean, you're just interesting people. Okay. And Martha Jabalo, who is way to my right. Martha, same with Martha. Martha and I are in the book group, and I always am silent when Martha speaks because when she speaks, we listen. Okay. And Hope Panette, oh my God, Hope, you are a role model to all of us. Hope, we can't see all of your face there. We could just see your forehead, but Hope is a spry. Are you 96 yet, Hope? But Hope is, she's as sharp as can be. I hope, using her name, I hope that all of us can be as continuous as in our living and as full in our living as you are, Hope. And Merle, of course, Merle, Merle is the program. You are the head of the program committee, and besides being a good friend, Merle is again exemplifies what NVN is about: warmth, community, caring, and and it's beautiful. So
Any
I
other
would,
comment? Oh, thank you, Steve. Any other comments or questions?
and
Okay.
Myra Ilesarek, even though I can't see you, I see your name. The same with Myra, and the same with Elaine
Yep.
and everybody who is on the NVN call, on the call here. We talk about incredible communities. We're an incredible community. And so Lucy and I are extremely fortunate that in addition to Cresheim Village Neighbors, we have our 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 own other community in which we're active members, and I don't have to lead a thing.
Thank you very much, Steve. This was wonderful. And thank you everyone for coming. This was really informative and entertaining, and just enjoyed every minute of it.